Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start this session, a quick check. Am I audible and visible to everybody on Zoom as well as YouTube? In fact, I'd have a quick confirmation of that. Great. So once again, a very good evening and a warm welcome to all the participants, all our viewers on Zoom and YouTube Live. My name is Satyanarayan, and I'm one of the co-founders and academic head for IQ Ideas. We have been doing this session of Career Guide 2023 for quite some days now, where we have been talking about various career options available to students from different streams and disciplines, namely science, commerce, and arts and humanities. We talked about how to go about selecting the right stream after standard 10th. We talked about how to go about selecting the right career path after 11th and 12th once you have settled in a particular stream. Starting yesterday, we are now talking about specific career options which could be open to students from all streams. So irrespective of whether you have taken up science, arts and humanities, or commerce, you are eligible to join any of these career paths. We talked about liberal education in India yesterday. Today, we are going to talk about a subject which is very close to our heart and something which we have been involved for the past decade and a half. We're going to talk about law education in India. So it gives me great honor and pleasure to welcome the speaker for today, Mr. Mohit Mangal, a close friend and colleague for over a decade and a half now. Mr. Mohit is an engineer and an MBA by education, and has been counseling students for various career options and guiding them regarding various entrance examinations for close to 2 decades. He is one of the right persons to talk about law education in India because he happens to be one of the first people who introduced the entire concept of preparing for law entrance examinations in this part of the country. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Mohit Mangal and ask him to take this session further.
Thank you so much, Satya sir. I will straight away get on to understanding, sharing with you the dates of today's session. As Satya sir already shared with all of you, today is the 8th session of a set of 11 power-packed career-related webinars for parents and students who are, studying from grade 9 to 12. So, the introduction of today's session, what I'm going to talk about is what is law fundamentally. Then we will talk about the career opportunities which are available after law. I will also talk about the best institutions available in the area of law, along with their admission processes. The entrance exams, then we will talk about, for which I will invite my colleague Satya, Satya sir once again into the session, and then we will like to take question answers at the end of the session if there are any. So this session is suitable for parents and students who are pursuing grade 11, 12, be it from any stream, be it science, commerce, arts, and who wish to pursue, legal education or law as a stream after grade 12. First of all, we all need to understand what is legal profession. Legal profession is a vocation that is based on knowledge of law and its applications. The occupation, which the individuals follow or study is to promote, uphold, and enforce the collection of rules imposed by the authority. And that is what we say, is part of our rule book or the rule of law or the constitution. Now, when you are enforcing or upholding law, you could be part of, the front end where you go to the court of law to argue, for your client, whereas we say that you become a litigator. Or you could also be not going to the court of law, but advising people outside the court of law, where you can become a legal consultant or, corporate legal advisor, or you could be part of, alternate dispute resolution where you don't go to the court of law and so on. Now, if you look at the career opportunities which are available, there are lots and lots of career opportunities which are available to students across board after finishing law. So you can become an advocate. You could be part of alternate dispute resolution, where we talk about becoming an arbitrator or a conciliator. You can be an associate attorney. You can be part of paralegal, where you can be a bankruptcy paralegal. You could be a civil lawyer, constitutional lawyer, contract lawyer, corporate lawyer. You could be criminal investigator, criminal lawyer, cybercrime specialist. You could be arbitrator in the area of cyber or IT based. You can become a detective. You can become a document drafting lawyer, family lawyer, immigration lawyer, intellectual property lawyer. You can be part of investigation services. You can become a judge after doing your LLB. You can appear for the judiciary exams and become a judicial magistrate first class after clearing those exams. You could be a judicial clerk, judicial magistrate. You can be a lawyer in the area of labor law. You can get into academia, where you can become a lecturer or a professor. You could be a legal advisor, analyst. You can get into legal journalism. Litigation paralegal also you can join. Litigator is basically anybody who argues in the court of law. So it could be in any of the areas which I've already shared with you as a lawyer. You can be a patent lawyer, a patent engineer, public prosecutor, social activist, solicitor, a sports lawyer, taxation lawyer, trademark paralegal, techno-legal professional, a mediator, or overall a paralegal professional, which could be in the area of script writing or drafting, or creating any backend support for the people who are practicing law. If you look at law, there are primarily 6 kind of degrees which are available after 12th. Those degrees are BA LLB, BCom LLB, BSc LLB, BSW LLB, BBA LLB. Also, these are 5 degrees are 5-year long degrees. And there is also another degree known as BTech LLB combination degree available, which is a 6-year program. For a BSc LLB or a BTech LLB, you need to be coming from a science background. Whereas a BA, BCom, BBA or BSW LLB, any child coming from humanities or commerce or science can get into. The traditional method of law, where you already finished the graduation in any of these streams, be it a BA, BBA, BCom, BSc, or even after an MBBS or a BE or a BTech or a BSW, you still have that opportunity where you can continue studying 3-year LLB after doing a graduation. So it is a bachelor's degree after a bachelor's degree. Or there are also postgraduate diplomas available, which could be 1-year programs, or LLMs available, which could be 1 or a 2-year program after you finish your LLB. Looking at the national level, the procedure for getting into law, there is one exam known as CLAT undergraduate exam. This exam is what we call as the mother exam. Now, if you look at this exam, why it is called the mother exam? Number one, the number of aspirants or law aspirants who appear for the CLAT exam is highest in CLAT. Second, if you look at the total number of seats for which the admissions are granted based on CLAT score, spread across 24 national law universities and 65 other private universities or colleges who take score from CLAT for admission in their respective law courses. So with this, you look at the total number of colleges is just short of 80. And the syllabus which you study for preparing for CLAT by and large encompasses the syllabus for any other entrance exam which you wish to appear nationally. So next to CLAT, there is another exam known as IELTS, that is All India Legal Entrance Test, which is conducted by NLU Delhi for their own entry process. Then Symbiosis conducts a separate entrance exam known as SLAT, where you can join Symbiosis Pune, Noida, Hyderabad. There is another international exam known as LSAT, which has an Indian version known as LSAT India. This caters to only one university, and that is OP Jindal Global University. Standalone exam. This basically exam is completely driven by Jindal University itself. Then there are few states which conduct their own entrance exam. Maharashtra is one of the prestigious entrance exam. Maharashtra state conducts this prestigious MHCET entrance exam, under which there are very good law colleges in Maharashtra, be it GLC in Bombay or ILS in Pune. Then you have Christ University undergraduate entrance test. Bharati Vidyapeeth Pune has its own entrance exam. Few other colleges like Narsee Monjee Bombay, Christ University Bangalore, UPS Dehradun. These institutions take students who have appeared for CLAT based on the CLAT score also. In case their scores are relatively lower, then they may ask the candidate to appear for their own entrance exam. Or if a candidate has not taken CLAT exam, they may ask the candidate to appear for their own exam. So UPS Dehradun has its own exam, ULSAT, Karnavati University Ahmedabad has its own exam, KUAT, Narsee Monjee Bombay has its own exam, NMIMS, LAT. Then we have the Kalinga University has its own exam, KIIT, MSU Baroda has its own exam, Army Law College has its own exam. Rajasthan, again, as a state, just like Maharashtra, conducts a separate state level entrance exam known as the roulette. Coming to the best colleges for law, we have NLS Bangalore, Hyderabad, Calcutta, which we call as the top 3 national law schools. Next 5 national law schools include Jodhpur, Delhi, Gandhinagar, Bhopal, Raipur. Next 4 national law schools, which I would call as League 3 of national law schools, include Lucknow, Patiala, Patna, and Bombay. Next to them are relatively newer law schools, which I would say mid-age law schools, which are Kochi, Ranchi, Guwahati, Cuttack, Visakhapatnam. And then there are baby law schools, which could be Trichy, Nagpur, Shimla, Aurangabad, Jabalpur, and Sonipat. In the National Law University category, I have given you the list of law schools. But in the non-national law university category, I would recommend or rank GLC Bombay as the best institute. You can go for ILS Pune. PHU Varanasi, which conducts or takes students through CUET, which is the newly introduced Common University Entrance Test undergraduate program, which is conducted by NTA. Then Punjab University Chandigarh has its own entrance exam, LLBET. Jamia Millia Islamia Delhi has its own entrance exam, JMI. Aligarh Muslim University has its own entrance exam. Army Institute of Law has its own entrance exam. KIIT Bhubaneswar Indraprastha University takes CLAT. Symbiosis Law School, Pune, Noida, Hyderabad takes Symbiosis SLAT. Then Army Institute of Law Mohali has AIL. Christ University Bangalore has its own exam. Bharati Vidyapeeth Pune. Institute of Law Nirma University, another very good institution where they take CLAT. Then comes Jindal Global Law School, which used to be a very good law school, but now their intake has also gone tremendously up. And under LSAT, this is the only one single college left in India. The rest, all colleges have either collaborated with CLAT or have started taking their own entrance exam. So there is no other institution under LSAT as on date. Then UPS Dehradun, Karnavati University, KIIT Bhubaneswar, MS University Baroda, ICFI Law School Hyderabad, then Symbiosis Noida, I will talk about Hyderabad. Alliance School of Law Bangalore is also upcoming law school. ICFI Law School Jaipur or VIT School of Law in Chennai. These are the next 25 best law schools in the country. To talk about the entrance exams, I would invite Mr. N. Satyanarayan. Satya sir is my colleague, head of the test preparation division at IQ Ideas. He's Bachelor's of Engineering in Computers. Then he's done his Master's from IIT Madras. He's 5-time CLAT cracker. So I'm very sure there is no other faculty in the country who has as much experience of CLAT as what Satya sir has. Satya sir has been tracking CLAT for last almost 20 years. Even before CLAT as a common entrance exam was built, consolidated. In those times, all the older law schools, which are Bangalore, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Jodhpur, Raipur, Bhopal, Gandhinagar, they all used to have separate entrance exams. He's the academic head at IQ Ideas. And he is one of those rare faculties who I find an all-rounder. You talk to him about mathematics, English, reasoning, legal, strategy, general knowledge, current affairs. So he is there in front of you. So I would invite Satya sir to take the thing forward and tell our audience, viewers, that what it requires to prepare for an entrance exam like CLAT or any other legal entrance exam. What are the sections? And what are the subsections, and what strategy they should be applying to equip themselves to crack CLAT the way you have cracked it yourself 5 consecutive times. So over to you, Satya.
Thanks a lot for those kind words. Without further ado, let me just directly jump into the CLAT. But am I audible and visible to everyone? Because I'm seeing.
Sir, your video is gone, but your voice is audible.
Okay. Video, let me see if I can manage that. Just a second. Okay. So CLAT as an entrance examination has been conducted by the National Law University since 2008, if I'm not mistaken. And like Mohit sir mentioned, it used to be an individual exam before that. And starting 2020, there has been a major change in the pattern of the CLAT examination. What earlier used to be a 200-mark multiple choice question paper in 2 hours, it's now been reduced to 150 questions in 2 hours, all multiple choice. And negative marking was introduced in 2014. The paper went online in 2014-15, and then it reverted back to the paper and pen mode around 2019, if I'm not mistaken. But the overall breakdown of the paper in terms of subjects has always remained the same. There are 5 subjects which are tested in the single paper of CLAT, which includes English, worth 20% of marks, reasoning, worth 20% again, legal aptitude and GK current affairs, worth 25% each, and mathematics, which has a weightage of about 10% in the paper. So if you break down it into the 150 questions format, English would account for close to around 30 odd questions. Reasoning, again, 30 odd questions. Legal aptitude, you can expect around 34, 35 questions. Same for GK current affairs, about 35 questions, and 15 questions roughly for mathematics. So 150 questions in 120 minutes with 1 mark if you get the answer right, 1/4 negative marking if you get the answer wrong, and of course 0 marks if you don't attempt the question at all. The format of CLAT since 2020 is more passage based. So every section has a passage on the basis of which 5 questions on an average are asked. So if I say there are 15 questions in mathematics, it would generally be broken into 3 sets having 5 questions each. Or for English, if there are 30 questions, so that would be roughly 6 passages with 5 questions each, so on and so forth. So let's take a look at some of the details of each of this section, where I can give you an idea of what to expect in the actual paper, as well as how to go about preparing for them. So if you move ahead to the next slide, as you can see, I picked up a few sample questions from the actual CLAT paper, which was conducted last year, December, a few months back, but technically 22 December, the latest edition of the CLAT. The first thing I put up on the screen is one of the reading comprehension passages in English, based on which 5 questions are asked. Now, obviously, due to constraint of space, I have not put up the entire passage. I've just put up part of the passage. And so because there are 30 questions of English to be expected in a paper, you can expect about 6 passages with 5 questions each. And if you read this passage, it is just a first-person account of early childhood days of a person, where it talks about the person growing up in a small town, and it's just a basic story. Now, I'm not going to ask you to read the entire passage. I'm going to show you the type of questions which have been asked based on this. So as you can read the first question, what use was the kabaddi wala or waste picker to the author? A very, very direct question from the passage. If you read the passage in detail, you will be able to directly pick up the answer to this from the passage itself. And this is more or less similar to the type of questions which are asked in our school time reading comprehension passages, right? And then one of the other questions in the set was, what does the word anachronistic as used in the passage mean? Now, if you have a good command over vocabulary, even without reading the entire passage, you should be able to make out that chronic or chronos means time and ana is out of time. So something which is related to another time. Even without reading the passage, a person decent with vocabulary would have been able to crack this question. But if not, reading the passage would give you a good sense of what it means. So 3 areas: good vocabulary, a decent command over grammar, and the ability to read long passages and understand and interpret them correctly would go a long way in cracking the CLAT section. Now, while other examinations would have questions based directly on grammar, like sentence correction or error spotting, and direct vocabulary questions, because CLAT has shifted since 2020 to the passage-based questions format, all the questions are reading comprehension. But that does not mean that vocabulary questions cannot be asked. As I have pointed out on the screen itself, you could have a direct vocabulary question as part of the reading comprehension passage. So English is not at all difficult to crack. All it requires is constant practice in this section. Moving ahead, now, a great thing, so-called great thing, which took place was general knowledge and current affairs always used to be one-liner questions, pick up the option and answer it. CLAT, in its wisdom, decided to go with passage-based current affairs, where they said we would give you a passage, you read the passage, and there will be questions of current affairs related to that. So in the examination, about 7 passages of roughly 350 to 450 words picked up from sources such as newspapers, the favorite newspapers being the Times of India, Indian Express, and as the Hindustan Times, and this particular passage from the Hindu, right? It's about the newly elected President Draupadi Murmu, the 15th President of India. So the article was about Draupadi Murmu when she was newly elected, and a little bit of information was given. Don't read this passage. Move on to the questions. And let me show you the type of questions which were asked. The very first question: before Draupadi Murmu, India had only one other female president, Pratibha Patil. When did Patil serve as the President of India? Nowhere would you find this information in this passage. You have to know the answer to this question. And even if you don't, but if you're able to work out the tenure of a president, and you know that people before Draupadi Murmu completed their tenure, you can logically work out the answer to this question. Similarly, President Murmu earlier served as the governor of which state? No point in reading the passage. The answer is not there. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. And finally, the first presidential election was held by the EC in which year? Again, the passage is not going to help you much. You have to know this data. So like I said, although most of the questions of GK and current affairs are supposedly based on the passage, they are only related to the subject. Reading the passage may not be of great help, but regular reading of current affairs and general knowledge, regular reading of newspapers, online blogs, articles, the way you prepare GK and current affairs for any other standard examination is exactly how you have to go about preparing. So it makes no difference that the format is different because the preparation remains exactly the same. Moving ahead, I put up a sample question of legal aptitude. Now, legal aptitude is not something which many students would have faced. Although the boards have now introduced the subject of legal studies, what is asked in the entrance examinations is somewhat different from what students would normally read in legal studies at school level. However, having said that, legal aptitude in CLAT is not about knowing the actual law. It requires only 2 things. 1, the ability to read and comprehend English. And second, the ability to think a little bit logically and strictly follow the given instructions. Like I keep telling my students, even if you have had absolutely no practice of direct legal aptitude, but if you are decent with reading comprehension, you stand a very good chance of being able to crack the exam, at least the legal aptitude portion. So the passage which was given was something related to domestic this and that. You could have read the passage, you would have got some idea of what it is. Now, based on that passage, which explains what basically domestic dispute and other things are, Here's a sample question, which gives you a case scenario that there were two people who are married and then something happened between them and blah, 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 and they go to the court. So I'm not going to go into the details of this question. However, what you need to understand is you have to strictly follow whatever information is given to you as a principle in the given passage, right? If you close off your mind to any external data and you follow it to the letter, believe me, you will be able to crack section of legal aptitude. What formerly used to be one-liner principle, 2 or 3 line of facts and options is now a long passage, but 5 questions based on that same concept. So you don't have to keep jumping between concepts. For 5 straight questions, your mind focuses on one single principle. Now, the section of mathematics, which is a bugbear for many, many students who are deathly afraid of this section, is actually a simple thing of understanding 4 or 5 basic fundamental theories. Your ability to calculate, add, subtract, multiply, divide, your ability to find percentages, your ability to work with averages, and your ability to work with ratios, with a little bit of ability to form and solve simple linear equations, is more than enough to solve set. For example, again, the data given here is about world fruit production, which went up by X percentage to so and so number. And it talks about 5 fruit species accounting for some Y percentage of the total production, which is a reduction from Z percentage in the previous year, right? Simple data given. And then the question asks, what was the world fruit production in 2000? You know the production in 2019. You know the production went down from some percentage to some percentage in 2000. If you plug in the numbers, you will get it. 30 seconds and the question is done. Similarly, in question 142, again, it talks about the share of particular things increasing by percentage points and other things. So the point is, if you're able to comfortably calculate, understand concepts of percentages, proportion, ratio proportion, and a little bit of number manipulation, then mathematics is easy peasy to solve. Believe me, all 3 sets which were asked in 2020, 2022 December, and the previous editions did not require too many high concepts. If you are comfortable with basic mathematics of standards 8th, 9th, and 10th, that is more than enough to crack this paper. Now, let's take a quick look at the other examinations. IELTS technically is spread only across 3 sections, right? They have a section for English, one for GK current affairs, and one what they call as reasoning. But reasoning, it includes questions of reasoning, mathematics, and legal aptitude. So practically speaking, all 5 areas of CLAT are covered in IELTS as well. However, starting 2022, where they again followed CLAT and shifted their exam from May to December of the previous year, the only difference between CLAT and IELTS is while CLAT asks you 150 questions in 120 minutes, IELTS asks you 150 questions in 90 minutes. So it's a time crunch. Symbiosis conducts SLAT for all the campuses across Pune, Hyderabad, Noida, and so on, where it does not have a specific mathematics section. It focuses on English, reasoning, legal, and GK current affairs. The only difference for Symbiosis as compared to any of the other law entrance processes is that people who clear the written portion of the SLAT are further taken through a selection process of writing ability test, which is more or less essay writing and a personal interview. Christ University is very similar to CLAT, although it has only 100 questions in 120 minutes with negative marking. However, the breakdown of sections is more or less the same as CLAT. And again, Christ is followed by a the written exam is followed by a micro presentation and an interview. LSAT does not have mathematics, no GK current affairs, no legal aptitude. It focuses on 4 sections where each section has to be attempted separately. You cannot choose the order of sections. You cannot choose the time limit you require for each section. Specific time limit, specific order of sections. However, it focuses only on 1 section of English and 3 sections of reasoning. Maharashtra CET is a mini version of the old CLAT, where instead of passage-based questions, you had individual questions in most of the sections. And the marking scheme you can find on the official website for the Maharashtra CET. Now, Preparing for these entrance examinations, whether it be CLAT, IELT, Maharashtra CET, SLAT, LSAT, requires you to focus mainly on your reading ability. You should be able to read large passages quickly and interpret them correctly. For CLAT, IELTS, Symbiosis, etc., you need to focus a lot on knowing current affairs, which means daily newspaper reading is necessary. And to some extent, papers which contain the mathematics section need you to be conversant with the basic funda of mathematics. So these are some of the basic information about entrance examinations. You can obviously follow the official website of these institutions where you can get detailed information about the exact pattern for the current year, the suggested syllabus, the weightage of the questions, the negative marking scheme, so on and so forth. Now, before I move ahead, I would like to ask Mohit sir to give you a basic introduction of IQ Ideas and what we do. And then we can have question answers where people who have any question could ask us through the chat on either Zoom or YouTube. Over to you, Mohit sir.
Thank you, Satya sir, for a beautiful, complete, in detail introduction about various entrance exams and ingredients of the entrance exam. Finally, I would like to introduce IQ Ideas. IQ Ideas is organization with 20 years of legacy. We are 4 directors at IQ Ideas. We are ourselves the teachers. And as I introduced Satya sir, we all appear for different kind of competitive exams ourselves. And the USP of IQ Ideas is that we take students through a proper counseling process when they come to us for any particular, entrance test preparation. So at IQ Ideas, we prepare children after 12th for entrance exams related to law, business management, mass communication, liberal studies, economics, honors, hotel management, social sciences, and so on. If you are wanting to get into any one of these entrance processes, you can connect with my office at 9979846007, or you can go to our website, that is iqideas.in. If you are confused, you're not sure what you want to do, whether you should get into law or not, you can connect for personal career counseling with my office at 7600-888-111. You can follow me on social media, on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram at IQ Mohit, or go to my website, that is mohitmangal.com. To access today's PPT and to be in touch with me, you can join my WhatsApp group. The link of the WhatsApp group is there on your screen. I will request Satya sir to post this WhatsApp group detail on the Zoom chat as well as the chat in the YouTube. And you can also keep connected with me through more such videos related to careers on my YouTube channel. My ID is IQ Mohit, bit.ly/IQ Mohit, which again has been introduced by Satya sir in the chat box. Once again, thank you all. There are 3 sessions, which are forthcoming sessions. Tomorrow, we will talk about business management education. 13th, we are talking about more skill-based, practical skill-based areas of management like hotel management, event management, sports management. And 14th, we will talk about mass communication, media studies, filmmaking, or photography education in India. If you have any of your friends in and around who wish to join us in any of the sessions, you can share this link with them so they can register and join any one of these sessions. So I will quickly request any of the audience, if they have any questions, we'll be very happy to answer those questions. Otherwise, we'll call for the day and we will close the session. Satya sir, I do not have any question on my screen. So I think we'll for the session. We'll meet tomorrow for the business management session. Right. Thank you so much once again to one and all who have connected with us on this session.